Here I'm going to go over how to solve equations and inequalities when you first need to simplify each side. I'm going to go over the inequality or equation on the left, and the one I'd like you to try is on the right in the yellow box. So first off, with this inequality, if there are any fractions, I suggest you first convert them to decimals. If you work really well with fractions, great, you can leave them as fractions. I'm going to convert them to decimals. So when I look at 13 and 3/4, I know there's 13, but 3/4 is the same as 3 divided by 4, which if I put that in my calculator, I get 0.75. So 13 and 0.75 is 13.75. And then 1 1/4 is 1, and then 1/4 is 1 divided by 4, which is 0.25. So 1 and 0.25 is 1.25. And 2 1/2 is 2, but the half is 1 divided by 2, which is 0.5. So 2 and 0.5 is 2.5. And then everything else stays the same. So I wrote that in the darker red. Now I'm going to look at each side of the inequality, so this side and then this side, and look at them individually and see if I can simplify anything on that side. So simplifying means distributing if there's parentheses, which in this case there aren't parentheses, so we don't need to do that, but also means combining like terms. So if we look at the left side, like terms have the same variable, like x, and exponent. So this and this are like terms. 12x minus 7x I can combine. And the way you do that is you say, how many x's do I have? I had -12, and then I added 7. -12 plus 7 is -5. And then there aren't any other constants without variables, so I'm just going to keep the plus 13.75. Now on the right side, I don't have any terms that have variables, but I have two constants, the 1.25 and the 2.5. And I can just combine those together and add them, and I get 3.75. Now I want to collect all of the variables on one side. And notice all of my x's are already on the left side, so I don't need to move anything for that step. But step 4 says to move all the constants, all those regular numbers, to one side. So I'm going to move all of my constants over to the right side, since my variables are already on the left side. So I just can't take that plus 13.75 and move it to the right side. When you want to move something to the other side of an inequality or an equation, you need to do the opposite operation, the inverse. So to undo this adding 13.75, I'm going to subtract 13.75. And you need to do that on both sides. Because when you do, you get 13.75 minus 13.75 cancels out. And on the right side, we get -10. Now, with inequalities, whenever you perform a step where you are moving something to the other side of the inequality symbol, you need to ask yourself if you flip the symbol. You only flip the symbol if you multiplied or divided by a negative number. And in this case, we just subtracted, so I'm not going to change my sign. The next step is to isolate my variable, this x. So I'm going to undo this multiplying by -5 by dividing by -5. And I need to do that on both sides. So -5 divided by -5 is 1, so I'm just left with 1x. And on the right side, I have a 2. Now again, do I flip the sign? I just divided by a negative number, so I do flip the sign. Only flip the sign if you multiply or divide by a negative. Let's do one more. This is an equation. Again, I'm going to walk through the one on the left. I'd like you to do the one on the right. So first up, convert any fractions to decimals. And my equation doesn't have any fractions, so there's nothing to do. Next step, simplify each side of the equal sign. So when I look at the left side, I have negative 51 plus 74, which if I put that in my calculator, I get 23. On the right side, I have parentheses, so I can't combine like terms until I first distribute. So the number on the outside needs to be multiplied by each number inside the parentheses. So negative 5 times 2x is negative 10x. And negative 5 times positive 1 is negative 5. And then I still have my plus 6x. So looking at the right side a little more, if I combine any like terms, remember like terms have the same variable and exponent. Make sure you're looking at the signs there. Negative 10x plus 6x. Well, negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4, so it's negative 4x. And there aren't any other constants on the right side, so I still have my minus 5. Now I'm going to move all my variables to one side of the equal sign, and notice all my x's are already on the right side, so I'm good there. So now I'm going to move all my constants over to the other side. So this minus 5, I'm going to move to the left side by doing the opposite, adding 5. Because that cancels out, and I'm just left with 28 equals negative 4x. And then you undo that divide or that multiplying here by dividing. Now when you are dividing by a negative number with an equation, when there's just an equal sign, you don't have to change anything. That's just with inequalities. So 28 divided by negative 4 is negative 7.